here. Today we are going to do lightning talks. We've got 4 talks coming at you, so we might get done a little bit earlier, but you guys are welcome to hang out and talk and eat some more food if there's still food. So before we get started, we're going to do some community announcements. So if anyone has one, raise your hand and you can come up and make an announcement.
Okay, tonight here, 6 o'clock, we have CHA Big Data, and Greg Ostermeyer is going to present on SQLite and data analytics, and I don't know any more than that, except his quip on the cell was, it's Greg learning SQLite in real time. So come over at 6 o'clock, 6 to 8, we'll have food in large conference room. Thank you.
Announcement for Codex X. Next Wednesday, we're doing another part in our series of design, product management, and development. So that's at 6 p.m. on the 17th, probably over there. It'll be wherever Hack Night is. Also plug, Hack Night is next Wednesday, 6 p.m., food's provided. And I think that's it for announcements, unless anybody else has anything they want to announce. Cool, so we're gonna get started. Aram Perez is gonna start us off with an overview of NativeScript. So let's give him a hand.
So as Anna said, whoa. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Okay. My name's Aram Perez. I've started a company here in town to bring a sub $50 robot kit to the market. Comes with Bluetooth, so I wanted an app to remotely control it. And being lazy, I wanted to minimize how much code I had to write for both Android and iOS. A gentleman named Richard Ford that was helping me found NativeScript, which allows you to build both Android and iOS apps. So I'm just going to give a brief overview. So I've already installed it. You can go to the website to figure out how to install it. So I'm going to create a new project. NativeScript was originally developed by a company called Telerik. So all the commands is TNS, Telerik, NativeScript. This creates a blank app. So it uses JavaScript, or you can use TypeScript or Angular. I'm just going to use JavaScript here for simplicity here. Here, I'm going to change this just because I don't want to click 42 times. So the run command actually builds it and then runs it. I'm going to be using 2 simulators here. Hopefully everything will go. Up. I think sometimes when you run them simultaneously, you get an just the law of, no matter how many times I practice this. Over here. To build on iOS, you need a Mac, or they have a new tool that they call Sidekick, and they'll actually build in the cloud for the Mac for you. The free account gives you 100 builds. Otherwise, you got to pay, and I forget what the monthly fee is. You know, they got different prices for how many builds you need. Here's the Android. Except my code, and when you do the run, it's actually monitoring. Just reloaded the app. Now it says yippee. Let's see if Android, or I'm sorry, the iOS. Emulate this. Yeah, I might have to do it. Well, this is the app I developed. So I have it published right now. It was published yesterday. Of course, you can't see, I don't know how many of you can see it here. So here you get the list of what I call Steambots, which is my robot kit. And then you navigate for control. And if anyone's published an Android app, please see me. I still haven't figured out how to upload it to the App Store, the Play Store. And that's it.
Does anyone have any questions for Aram?
Yeah. Too long. No, Richard started it, and he developed it using the Angular version. So, you know, I took a quick crash course on Angular, tried to do it. So, I'm not sure how much time he spent. I've spent a couple of weeks. I started last year. I went through the collabs, so you know it's been a little over a year. Although I built some prototypes. Well, I shouldn't say prototypes. I built some using an Arduino for my grandkids, and then when I moved here, some people said you know it'd be nice to have a low-cost robot kit. So I'm working with a really good hardware engineer. For those of you that know about Arduinos, there's an ARM-based one called Maple Mini. It's a company, I forget where they're based out of, that they made an ARM-based Arduino board, then they stopped making it. But we designed, this is our own board, so it has, you know, can drive 2 motors, has the Bluetooth, a little speaker, RGB, oh, I didn't show that. There's an RGB LED, and then some extra GPIOs, and you program it with Arduino IDE. It's our own board, but it's based on a Maple Mini. You don't mind waiting several weeks, you can get a Maple Mini for $3 from China. Very low cost, but it is, you know, 32-bit ARM processor running at 72 megahertz, as opposed to a normal Arduino that runs at 16 and it's an 8-bit processor. Yes. Yeah, I mean, you have to install a special package, but yeah.
Let's give Aram a hand. Oh, you gotta.
That's the command line, the CLI. So if you go to nativescript.org, nativescript, right? Yeah, all the documentation's there, and again, you use either JavaScript, TypeScript, or Angular, and all the controls are the native controls. So it's not a web view where you have a web-based button. It's a native button.
Thank you. Give them a round of applause. All right, so next we have Zach McElrath. I am not actually sure what you're speaking on today. Well, it's a surprise. Yeah, so for questions at the end, if you will just repeat the question to the mic for the screen, that'd be great.
Hello? Okay. All right. So this is a surprise talk. Just have to figure out what it's about as it goes along. Okay. So what is this? This is a Twitter feed of real-time tweets from World War II. What is this? This is history. What is this? This is GitHub status page from 10:20 this morning. This is recent history. GitHub was down, and so was Bitbucket, actually. That was really fun. This is Git history. So today's talk is about Git history, and specifically, does Git history matter? Does it matter how it looks? Does it matter what's in there? I want to say that what you're looking for, ideally, what I would like in Git history is actionable history that you can quickly take action on. So what does that look like? Well, for example, if I want to say, did my fix for some Jira issue make it into a branch? How do I know? Well, I could go to Jira. I could go look and try to figure out, what branch should I get merged to. But sometimes you want to have, if you're working in the command line, you want to be able to really quickly check like the Git log. I want to say, did this issue get it in? Is it in my release branch? Is it in production? Is it in master? Is it like, where is it? Well, a really nice way you could do that is you could do git log, get the list of your commits, and you can do it to a particular branch, and then you could look for it. You could say, find me the issue number if your commit has it in there, depending on your commit format, of course. We do a commit format for like SOC 2 compliance, where we have Jira ticket issue numbers in the commit messages. So we also can prevent like deployments going out to production environments without verifying that a Jira issue has been QA'd and approved. So we're looking at a git log, and it looks like this. And I'm saying, I want to find whether a core 932 made it into a particular branch. What does this tell you? Is this really helpful? I see a lot of repetitive things here. I see merge branch master into blah. I see merge remote tracking branch. I see working. I see progress. More changes. A lot of times people say WIP. I guess acronyms are good. Work in progress. Working progress. Progress. Merge. This is an example of a history that, to me, is not actionable. It's confusing. It doesn't tell me what happened. This is how I respond to a history like this. This is not fun. What if our history looks something more like this, especially the one at the top? That's a fantastic history entry. What if it had the issue numbers? What if it was every single thing that was merged to a master or release branch was a specific issue that it told me exactly which issue was fixed, and the summary of the issue. Obviously, I'm not here to talk about commit formatting, but the problem is, how does our history get from being like this to being like this, where it's really understandable, at this point in time, this particular thing got fixed. Well, I want to be able to, if I have this kind of a history, I can immediately, do a git log, and then I can search for an issue number, and I can find a result. I can say, just find it within master, and I can say, sweet, I found out like that was fixed by this commit. So that's finding information, but yes, and finding that information, it is like when you're searching through all that merge stuff, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. It's insane. But when I can do that commit like a single command like that and find the commit where it fixed an issue, that's awesome. Now, because that commit contained all of, what I'm saying here is that commit right there contained all of the changes necessary to fix a particular issue. Like, here's an issue, one commit, one issue. I want to get that change into production. How do I do that? Cherry picking, yes. Git cherry pick is amazing. It is. If you've ever tried to copy changes over from one branch to another by hand, you are insane, and I feel for you. Git cherry pick is amazingly good, just like git merge, but Git cherry pick basically just takes, for those of you who don't know, it takes a commit from one branch and drops it into and applies it on top of another branch. And usually it gets it right. Then you can push that up, boom, you've gotten a fix from one branch to another. It's awesome. So a good Git history lets you find what you need and then take action. But the problem is, how do we get a clean history? How do we go from a million merge commits and a bunch of junk about work in progress, gotta go to sleep, oh, this sucks, darn it, something's broken. How do we get from that to the clean history? Well, here's one answer. We could rebase. We could say, every developer, before you commit your thing, you gotta rebase. Nope. No. Don't know. No. All right. I will tell you a short story of my hatred affair with rebase. So I do a lot of cross-cutting changes that I do commits and try to fix issues where I'm changing like 100 files. It might take me 6 months to actually get something done because sometimes the changes you're making are really huge. Well, even if they're not that huge, I've had many times where I've tried to do rebases because I wanted to get the latest master back in my branch. I wanted to stay up to date. I did a rebase. Problem number one, Rebase fails and doesn't do it. It completely fails. Literally, rebase borks. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It happens to me quite often. Whereas if I did a merge commit, I just merge master right in. It's great. It works. The other problem is rebase applies all your changes sequentially. It goes through each commit. And if there's a merge conflict in any single one, it does it in steps. So if you had 150 different changes and you had merge conflicts in, say, 57 of them, you have to resolve merge conflicts 57 times. And sometimes you end up doing it at the same time over and over again. Now, if you do a merge commit, one time, fix your conflicts in one go, you're done. That's it. Rebase sucks. I'm sorry. That's if you get takeaway, I think. Now, it's very different when you're trying to get, if you have your own branch and you're really close, you're not very far behind master, sweet, you can rebase. That's awesome. But what's much, much easier is continuing to take master and merge it into your branch. Just merge it in, merge it in, merge it in, merge it in. Now you're going to say, oh, wait, you do that, then you lose your whole clean history. Yes, you do. But there is an answer. Get merge squash. This is what my talk is about. This would be the title slide, but I held it for the end. Get merge squash. This talk is also known as my love affair with Get merge squash. So GitHub, in particular, has an amazing area where it has the merge button options, 3 options. This is what our repos look like. We don't let you do merge commits. We don't let you do rebase merging. We only allow this one. Because squash merge is amazing. Squash merge lets you take every commit that was in a branch and drops it into one commit. And it does it, you can do it right from when you're proving a PR. You got a pull request in GitHub, review it, boom, squash and merge, one commit for everything. All of those works in progress, all those merge commits, they all go away. You don't have to do any manual rebasing before you go up to GitHub. Just squash and merge, boom, done. Clean history. You don't have to spend, and the biggest thing I'd say is it is a complete waste of developer time to rebase, to sit there going into Vim and rebasing, trying to squash your commits, blah, blah, blah. Who wants to, that is not like adding business value to spend your developers' time rewriting their Git history. One button, squash and merge. And you have no more, and by turning it off here universally, no merge commits. We used to have rebase and merge turned on, but it failed so many times that I was like, no, done. It fails so often that it's not worth it. Squash and merge. GitHub for the win. I think Bitbucket is trying to get this. I think they may have actually done squash merge recently, but we were using Bitbucket for a while and they didn't have it, and that was frustrating. But that's the end of the talk. If anything, go look up squash, git merge squash. You can also do it in your own branches. You don't have to do it through GitHub. You can just do it on your own local. If you say you have a branch that's hideous, it has 10,000 commits to it, and you want to get into a nice clean branch or something, git merge squash, boom, see, nice little branch. There you go. Any questions? Yes. Why are you searching? Git log hyphen capital S. I could do that. You could do that, I think. I don't know. There's different ways to do things. There are too many ways to do the same thing. That's yes. Merge dash dash rebase. That's what the rebase and merge button does. And my problem with it is because it's doing the rebase algorithm, it fails. It often fails. And if it encounters a merge commit in the history, it usually borks. That's where you basically have to tell your developers be really diligent about not doing merge commits, which is the problem that it's really frustrating as a developer to not have to do rebase because you have to go resolve conflicts individually. So on our repos we have probably like hundreds of commits to master a day. Like that's a lot. That's a lot of different changes that could mess with you. And if you have to go through and do rebase on that crap, you hate your life. So that's my response. Okay. Uh-oh.
And my talk may or may not be on why you should always squash and rebase. So. So hi, I'm Anna Sherman. I'm a developer at Carbon 5, and today I'm going to be talking to you about changing history, but aka why you should always squash and rebase your Git commits. So I feel like I'm doing a comedy routine now. So collaboration. This is a thing that we should all, at some point in our developer journey, encounter. You're going to have to work with other people. You're going to have to touch a code base where someone else has touched it. And so there's great tools like Git that help with version control, but like any tool, it can be misused and cause a lot of pain points. So here's one way that I found using Git to help with that collaboration. So my suggested flow is squash and rebase. So how this flow works is you'll pull down the master branch and make sure you have the latest code, and then cut your own branch. After that, code as much as you want, make as many commits as you want, however you want to make them, whip commit, do all of that, get the code done that you need to have done. But make sure that at the end, your code builds and all your tests pass, because you guys should be testing if you're not testing. And then at this point, you'll squash down to one commit. So all of the commits you've made will end up into one commit at the end. You do this with an interactive rebase. So to break down a little bit of what Zach did, here's how you do that. You do git rebase -i, head tilde, and then the number of commits you want to squash. So I have this example. Ignore that I'm on the master branch. You should not ever do this on the master branch, because people will be really mad at you. But I've got these 3 commits here that all have to do with users, and so I'm going to squash those down into one commit. So I do that with git rebase -i head tilde 3. You'll end up in a screen like this, where you have to choose which commits you want to keep and what to squash. You can only squash down, you can't squash up. And so you'll do that by, the top commit is always the oldest commit that you have. So you do that by picking the top commit and then squashing the 2 below it. You do that by indicating the S, or you can write the word squash in front. And then it pops you over here after you save in Vim, which if you're not familiar with Vim, you should get familiar with it. And then it brings you here to, at the top, you've got an accumulation of all the commit messages you had. So you can just save here and it'll save all the commit messages you have, or you can clean it up. So I clean mine up to add users and authentication, adds Anna and Joe into user seeds. So after all of that's done, you're squashed. Then you do a rebase off of master. So again, you make sure you'll pull the master branch down, make sure you have the latest master, and then do a rebase. And you do that with git rebase master. So at this point, we hit our first yay moment, because conflicts are easier to handle. You can end up with conflicts when merging. It's just going to happen. You have a bunch of people working on a code base. You're going to conflict sometimes. So if you squash before you rebase, then you only have to ever fix one commit ever. And then you're dealing with your code completely finished and not trying to fix weird half commits that you've made along the way. After that, you merge into master, and that's it. So let's talk about the cons first, or the perceived cons. The main one is fear. There's a lot of fear around squashing and rebasing. One, because it changes your Git history, and people don't like that. They're like, I want the truth of what's happened. You can always access the original commits in the ref log if you are super really about that, and you'd be surprised how often that doesn't happen. So this is one thing that people have an issue with, but meh. Another thing is it loses some of the granularity. So if you have one commit for every feature that you're doing, you do kind of lose that, here I've added this thing, I've added this thing, I've added those building block commits. And finally, it can be dangerous for the uninformed. So if you don't know quite what you're doing, please be careful. Get some education around how to actually squash and rebase before you go and mess up your code base. So what's in it for you? It makes rebasing smoother, like we saw. Again, you only have to deal with one commit ever to deal with merge conflicts. This guarantees that, or it should guarantee that all your commits on master build and pass your test. So make sure, remember at the end before you squash, everything builds and passes your test, and this should guarantee that each commit does that. You don't have random half commits that don't build or do weird things, which then helps when you're trying to get BISECT. It lets you trust your code base way more because you know that it should be building and you're not in this weird state where, oh, I wasn't done with this feature and so everything's weird right now and I can't tell if the bug that I'm looking for was introduced here or if it's just broken. And then it cleans up your Git log. It does it in a different way than Zach showed us. So I've worked on a code base where this was the Git log and it was really frustrating and can't really tell what the heck's going on. It's really pretty. There's a lot of colors, but nothing beyond that. So with the squash and rebase method, it ends up like this. It's much more easier to read, see what's going on. And then finally, each commit on master contains all the code for a feature or bug solution. So this is a pro and a con thing. Some people love this, some people hate it. I personally like knowing that, oh, I want to go look at this one issue. Like if you tag them with your JIRA number, you can go look at that one issue and all the code for that story is in there. So I'm going to quote myself on this one. You should always squash and rebase your Git commits. And thank you. So that's my Twitter, my Instagram, and then I actually wrote a blog post on this, so if you're interested in reading more or learning about it, you can check out the blog, blog.carbon5.com, and then we've got a whole bunch of other ones on there. I also wanted to let you guys know about some upcoming events. So we talked about Hack Night and then the Codex X thing that's happening on that Hack Night, which is the story writing and design with Jathan Elam and Ali O'Connell. We're going to be doing a screening of code, debugging the gender gap. It's a screening and panel that's coming up on February 21st. And then Lambda Squared conference is going to be a conference happening in Knoxville on March 30th this year, and you guys should check it out. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
If you have several dozen commits on a particular branch, do you just count them manually, or is there a shortcut command to give you that?
So I typically will do like, a lot of times I will count them, or I will just check on GitHub and be like, how many do I have there? I think there is a shortcut, but I can't remember it. And maybe in the blog post, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. I usually just am like, usually since I'm tagging them with the item number that I'm working on and then my name, it's really easy for me to just go bam, 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 bam. So if you format your commits nicely, I'm not going to get into that, it'll help you out later. Yeah, you probably can. Yeah, there's definitely several ways. I'm still very low tech on it. All right, so we still have one more speaker. It's Edna, and she is coming up to speak on accessibility in the web.
Thank you for being patient. I'm sorry about that little technical difficulty. My name's Edna Jonsson. So this is just a thought. I'm not too technical today. Content that we create on social media. One thing that's huge for people that use their screen readers can't. So something that we can all do. We do this on our websites when we're developing. To get the content, this image here says aux cord, and my friend says, you better not play trash, and then I play the VeggieTales theme song. The screen reader, you would not be able to read that as an image. One of my how this is done properly is they give content that is in that image. So here, owning a cat is hearing things crash during the night and deciding it's a problem for tomorrow you. So somebody with a screen reader would be able to see this, and even though it would read that there's an image, it will give everything that is on that image. So this way, if we even add a little bit of the context that is on the image, that helps. And what I've seen a lot of lately is on Twitter, we'll take screenshots of other people's that makes it harder for people that are what the context now, we're all developers are in. I'm just curious, how many here have ever downloaded and tried? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's actually really good. I really would love it if the rest of you would try what it is like for somebody who has problem a lot when you have a screen reader. But also if you've developed an application, a website, see what your own content is like on a screen. You can get your very own screen reader for free. The website is envyaccess.org, and that is a community-built. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers that came and spoke. Thank you. We're still looking for more speakers for this coming year, so if you have a talk you want to give, come talk to an organizer or hit us up on Slack.